recent seasons, the once great Ajax have seen several of its stars depart for different challenges across Europe. Frenkie de Jong departed for Barcelona in 2019. Matthijs de Ligt left for Bayern Munich in 2022. Hell, they even lost their manager to Manchester United in that same window. And this summer, the club lost Jurrien and Mohammed Kudus, who decided to swap the Eredivisie for the Premier League. These personnel losses have really impacted Ajax on the pitch, with the club finishing in third in the Eredivisie in the 2022-2023 season. So today, we will be picking up the club at the start of the 23-24 season using an updated database to reflect the latest squads and continental competitions that the club will be in. Can we take the club back to the top using a possession-centric style of football? The club has already won 4 Champions League trophies, and I'd love to make it a 5th in this video, so let's get into it. I have prevented new signings for the first season so that the Ajax squad won't be changing from how it is at the time of recording. I will say, I started this video before Davy Klaassen joined Inter Milan. Looking at the players in the team, I'll be leaning heavily on some of the young Dutch talent. In the middle of the park, we have Kenneth Taylor, who has all the attributes to be a fantastic creative outlet and a real metronome of this team. At left back, we have Owen Wijndal, who joined from fellow Dutch side AZ Alkmaar and should be physically dominant with those physical attributes up and down the left flank. And finally, we have Brian Brobbey up top. The striker is only 21 years of age in game, but has all the attributes to become a world-class striker. I'm hoping with extended game time, he will get there pretty soon. We will be looking to bring a smooth possession-based style back to Ajax, so we'll be using GYR's tiki-taka tactic, which looks like this in game, and this is our best starting 11. Competition-wise, we'll be competing in the Europa League in Season 1 due to the club's 3rd place finish last season in real life. In the league, we're predicted to win it all, but I have a feeling we're still in the middle of a transition, so let's see what happens and let's get to simulating. First up, we have to talk about the league. We finished 2nd behind Feyenoord thanks to absolutely bottling our final game of the season. We had a wobble towards the end of the season with draws against Vitesse and Sparta Rotterdam before losing at home on the final day of the season to FC20. However, the disappointment did not stop there. In the Cup, we managed to advance through the early rounds, knocking off lower league opposition in the shape of Spakenburg and De Teffers before coming up against NEC in the quarterfinals. We were on the road in the game, but Davy Klaassen silenced the home fans with his goal inside the first 5 minutes. Old man Bastos was able to head the home side level in the second half, but we were able to advance with 2 goals in the final 10 minutes. It was AZ Alkmaar in our way in the semi-finals, and we were able to restrict our opposition to limited opportunities with 70% possession, and Steven Berghuis bagged a brace to see us progress to the final. The opposition in the final was league winners Feyenoord, who took the lead in the game with 15 minutes to go through Javario Dilroson's calm left-footed finish. I thought we were sending the game into extra time as Steven Bergwijn managed to fire home with 4 minutes remaining. However, David Hanko scored in the 89th minute to see us finish as runners-up and see Feyenoord complete a league and cup double. In Europe, we managed to book our place in the Europa League with a win against Swiss Super League side Lugano. Our performance at the Johan Cruyff Arena put us firmly in the driver's seat as goals from Bergwijn, Medic and Cohen Xiao put us 3 goals to the good. We did lose the game in Switzerland 3-0 in the opening 9 minutes, with Lugano actually having us on the ropes, but in extra time we were able to progress thanks to goals from Jalen Banel and Chuba Akpom. Our Europa League group was drawn, and we were drawn alongside Germans Freiburg, Austrian side LASK and Panathinaikos from Greece. We were able to qualify top of our group with 3 wins, 2 draws and 1 loss, which came away in Germany to Freiburg. In the round of 16, we were up against German opposition again as we took on RB Leipzig. Timo Werner put the home side in front in the first leg with his close-range strike before Davy Klaassen scored minutes later to give us a great chance to take things back to Amsterdam. At home, we asserted our dominance, albeit with some questionable defending and goalkeeping from both sides. Brobbey bagged a brace, and Klaassen and Bergwijn goals saw us win 4-1 on the night and advance thanks to a 5-2 win on aggregate. It was Jose Mourinho's Roma up next in the quarterfinals, and this time we were at home in the first leg. It was a typical Jose Mourinho performance with a little bit of a smash and grab element to the game, as the two teams traded goals before Brian Cristante scored in the 88th minute to give Roma the lead in the tie. In Italy's capital, defensive errors were on show again for both sides, but Lorenzo Pellegrini was able to score twice, once in each half, to see us exit the competition at the quarterfinal stage. This performance in all competitions actually meant that the board were really unhappy with me, and my board confidence was currently a C-. However, I was able to save my job, so the video won't be ending just yet. Ahead of Season 2, I have just under £35 million to spend on players, and I'll be targeting young, technical footballers that can really add something to this team. Let's kick off Season 2 with our transfer business, as we spent over $50 million to bring in 4 talents to get this team back on track. First up, we brought defender Mickey van der Ven back to Holland after his move to Spurs didn't work out. He didn't play one game for Tottenham, so we were able to snag him for £15 million. Next up, we called in more defensive reinforcements as Argentinian international Nehuén Pérez joined from Udinese for £16 million. To give us a bit more bite in our midfield, we secured the services of Kefren Turan from Nice. He's supremely well-rounded in this game and can play in a number of positions. He joined us for £12.5 million. And finally, we picked up wonder kid Rooney Bargi to play on our right-hand side. He joined us from Copenhagen for his minimum fee release clause of £9.5 million. We also welcome back Nassi Univar from his loan with FC23, and he'll be playing in our side this season. So this one feels a bit like a new signing as well. Going into Season 2, this is our best 11 according to our assistant manager. But to guarantee game time and development, we will be pinning Bargi and Univar into these positions for the season. We're back in the Champions League following our second place finish last season, and we will also participate in the Johan Cruyff Schal, which is the Community Shield equivalent. We are heavy favourites for the league with 7 players in the Media Dream 11, and after last season, the board are expecting a title. We kicked off the season with the Johan Cruyff Schal, and Nassi Univar rewarded me for putting him in the side immediately as he slotted a lovely free kick early before turning provider to play Brian Broby through on goal to make the game 2-0 and see us lift the trophy to kickstart our season. In the Dutch Cup, we progressed through the second round past FC Groningen thanks to goals from Bergwijn, Klaassen and Univar, but came up against tough opposition in the next round in the way of Feyenoord. Calvin Stengs put the home side in front in the first half before Davy Klaassen pulled us level from the spot. The game went all the way to penalties where Steven Berghuis ballooned his first penalty over the bar, and Feyenoord scored penalty after penalty to see us lose the shootout 5-4 and crash out of the cup. In the league, we managed to return to top of the league with a very impressive season. We won 26 of our games with 5 draws and 3 losses and scored an impressive 80 goals whilst only conceding 19. We actually won the league with 4 games to go with this 3-1 win on the road against Sparta Rotterdam, with Rooney Bargi putting on a clinic with a goal and 2 assists. In the Champions League, we entered the group stage and we were drawn in Group G alongside Tottenham, Real Madrid and Galatasaray. It was an interesting campaign as we picked up 2 wins against Galatasaray, 2 draws with Real Madrid, but lost both games against Spurs. That actually meant that we finished second in the group and qualified for the knockouts and actually sent Madrid into the Europa League. In the round of 16, it was Austrian side Red Bull Salzburg in our way, and we were at home first as goals from Brian Broby and Nehuén Pérez saw us take a 2-goal lead into the second leg. We ultimately lost the game in Austria, but Brian Broby was able to bag a brace to see us advance with a 4-3 win on aggregate. The quarterfinals were up next and we came up against 5-time Champions League winners Barcelona. In the first leg, we taught Barcelona a lesson and dominated the game from start till finish. Kefren Turan opened the scoring before Brian Broby continued his fine goal-scoring form and added another brace to give us a 3-0 lead in the tie. However, things were a different story in Spain as Barcelona meant business, and before we knew it, we were 4-0 down before halftime, with Marcos Alonso scoring a brace alongside goals from Robert Lewandowski and Ferran Torres. Torres then added a 5th goal in the second half to see us throw away a 3-goal lead and lose the tie 5-3, with several players having poor performances in this big game. Players-wise, Brian Broby was our top goal scorer for the season with 24 goals in all competitions, and Rooney Bargi had a breakout season with 10 goals and 14 assists. Looking ahead to next season, we have £42 million in our transfer budget and around £300,000 a week in our wage budget to improve this team. Crisis hit as we were progressing through to Season 3 as Juventus came in to sign our goalkeeper Geronimo Rulli for £10 million. This meant I needed a new keeper, so went to Valencia to pick up Georgia international Jurrien Mamadashvili for £6.25 million. I actually see that as an improvement, so I'm totally fine with it. We then picked up Oscar Gluck, who impressed against us last season for Red Bull Salzburg for £15.5 million. And finally, I splashed the cash to secure another wonder kid as Warren Zaire-Emery joined from PSG for £45 million to anchor our midfield and give Thuram and Taylor more freedom in that midfield. This is the best 11 going into the season, but to continue developing our young players, I will pin Zaire-Emery, Univar and Bardghji into these positions for the season. We have the same 4 competitions as last season and were odds-on favourites to win back-to-back league titles with our players dominating the Media Dream 11. I have to say, something very unexpected happened in Season 3. We went unbeaten in the league. We picked up 26 wins throughout the season with 8 draws, and we're actually only conceded 14 times all season in the league. We secured the league title with 4 games to go with this 2-0 win on the road at FC Groningen to lift back-to-back Eredivisie titles. In other competitions, we were able to pick up the Johan Cruyff Sjaal with this convincing win over PSV. Nuno Perez opened the scoring before Kefren Thuram doubled the lead just before half-time. Things didn't get any better for PSV in the second half as Kenneth Taylor added 2 more goals to see us run out comfortable winners. We continued our domestic dominance in the Dutch Cup as we hammered Amsterdam 7-0 in the first round before wins against NEC and Fortuna Sittard saw us reach the semi-final stage where we take on AZ Alkmaar. It took a long time for us to finally break them down, but Josip Sotolo leapt highest from a set piece to head us into the lead before Steven Bergwijn put the game beyond doubt with his cool finish in the 90th minute. This set up a final appearance against rivals Feyenoord, however, we were a much different beast this season. We dominated the final from start to finish without even getting out of second gear. Rooney Bardghji bagged 2 goals in the first half as we coasted to the club's 21st Dutch Cup victory. In the Champions League, the new format kicked in and we were handed our 8 opposition teams for the league phase. We had games against Lyon, Manchester United, AC Milan, Real Sociedad, Atletico Madrid, Liverpool, Shakhtar from Ukraine, and Rakow from Poland. We were impressive in the league phase, picking up wins against Lyon, Real Sociedad, and Liverpool, which saw us finish 12th in the league phase table. This meant that we had a playoff fixture, which produced a huge tie as we take on Feyenoord in an all-Dutch affair. The first leg was in Rotterdam and it was a hotly contested affair with both sides having several chances. However, we asserted our dominance through goals from Steven Bergwijn, Kefren Thuram and a brace from Brian Brobbey to win the game 4-2 on the night and take a 2-goal lead into the home leg. At home, things were much less eventful as Brobbey scored late on to give us a 5-2 aggregate win. This meant that we advanced into the round of 16 where we came up against Napoli. We were at home in the first leg this time, but Victor Osimhen ripped us apart in the game, scoring a goal in each half as Napoli won 2-0. The second leg in Naples didn't go much better as Napoli proved they were the better side with 4 goals on the night, ultimately seeing them go through 6-2 on aggregate, and our Champions League journey had come to an end for the season. Brian Brobbey was our top goal scorer again this season with 22 goals in all competitions, and Rooney Bardghji is developing into one hell of a player and chipped in with 18 goals and 16 assists in all competitions. Looking ahead to next season, we have a transfer budget of £46 million and £500,000 a week in the wage budget to improve a squad that just went unbeaten in the league. Let's see what we can do. I wanted to improve this squad as much as I could, but we actually ended up making money in this transfer window. Nuno Perez had his head turned by the Premier League and he is now an Everton player, joining them for £30.5 million. We also sold defender Gaston Avila to Villarreal for £10.5 million. This meant that we needed a defender, so I went and raided Sporting for the physical beast that is Ousmane Diomande, who we snagged for £26.5 million in our only piece of business in the summer. Diomande comes into the best 11 to play at the heart of the defence alongside Van der Ven, and to continue their development I'll be pinning Zaire Emery and Univar into these spots this season. I don't need to pin Rooney Bargi because he basically picks himself at this point. Competitions wise, we have the same 4 competitions as last season as we look to continue our unbeaten run in the Eredivisie, where we are odds on favourites to win the league yet again. We kicked off the season with a Johan Cruyff Schal where we played PSV and we absolutely wiped the floor with them, running out 5-1 winners with 5 different players getting on the score sheet. I thought we were on for a super season here, but we came crashing down pretty quickly as we were dumped out of the Dutch Cup by NAC in the second round. However, this was going to be our last disappointment of the season. In the Eredivisie, we managed to go back to back to secure our 3rd title in a row, all whilst remaining unbeaten for a second league campaign. This season, we won 30 of our 34 games, which meant we haven't actually lost the league fixture since the final game of Season 2, with our players taking up 10 of the top 15 spots in the division based on average rating. And now, we talk about the Champions League. In the league phase, we were drawn against Arsenal, Newcastle, Real Madrid, Juventus, Athletic Bilbao, Porto, Victoria Plzen, and FC Copenhagen. We had some tough games but picked up 4 wins against Newcastle, Porto, Plzen and Copenhagen, which meant that we finished 12th in the league portion and qualified for the knockout stages. In the playoff round, we took on Monaco and we were on the road in the first leg. We really turned up in this game as Steven Bergwijn, Josip Sotalo and Rooney Bargi gave us a commanding lead to take into the second leg. Back in Amsterdam, Ousmane Diomande got sent off early in the first half and we lost the game thanks to a Frank Kessie penalty, but still advanced into the next round with a 3-1 aggregate win. It was German opposition up next as we faced Bundesliga champions Bayern Munich. We were at home in the first leg and gave Bayern goalkeeper Anatoly Trubin a torrid time as we ran out 4-1 winners. Steven Bergwijn's early goal was cancelled out by Jamal Musiala, but then Oscar Gluck and Rooney Bargi both bagged to give us a 4-1 lead in the tie. The second leg back in Germany was much tighter as Harry Kane gave Bayern the lead, but substitute David Kalakok equalised in the 83rd minute to see us advance to the quarter-finals. Tottenham were our quarter-final opponents, and this time we were on the road in the first leg. Dejan Kulusevski gave Spurs the lead, but Owen Vendal pulled us level from the penalty spot. This game was full of penalties as Ruben Neves put Spurs back in the lead just before half-time. He then had the opportunity to give them a 2-goal lead from the spot just before full-time, but Georgi Mamadashvili pulled off a huge save to give us a chance in the tie. In the second leg, we really bounced back as goals from Josip Sotalo, Brian Broby and Rooney Bargi all scored in the first half to give us a 4-2 aggregate victory. The semi-final produced a test against Italian opposition as we faced AC Milan. We were disappointing in the first leg at home and ultimately lost the game 1-0 with Nicolo Fagioli netting the only goal of the game. However, at the San Siro, Oscar Gluck pulled us level with his goal in the second minute, which was the deciding goal that sent the game into extra time. The game looked destined for penalties until Brian Broby showed great composure, taking a pass on the chest before calmly slotting into the back of the net in the 118th minute. This sets up a Champions League final against Juventus, and these two clubs already have history. This would be the 3rd time that these two sides have met in the Champions League final. Ajax won the 1972-73 final to complete their hat-trick of Champions League wins, and Juventus won the 1995-1996 final on penalties. So this fixture will settle the best-of-3 series with the game being played at the Bernabeu in Madrid. Davy Klaassen fired his penalty straight down the middle to give us the lead before Oscar Gluck beat the Juventus goalkeeper to the ball before shooting into an open net from 35 yards. This was a game that we dominated from start to finish and ended the game with a total of 72% possession. So that makes it 40 Eredivisie titles and 5 Champions League titles. I think we could say that this rebuild is complete. If you want this save, you can get it in my Discord server. Links to that are down in the description. And if you want to watch more of the FM23 Rebuild content, check out this playlist. It's all the rebuilds that we've done on this year's game.